Hey guys, Joseph Henson here. I hope you guys had a great Christmas and a good new year, and welcome to January 2025. Today, we're going to talk about something that's on everyone's mind, and that's how to understand tax deadlines and how to understand payment deadlines. So, what do you need to know to avoid paying penalties? Let's start with a quick introduction. What is a tax extension? So, an extension allows you time to file your tax return, and this will typically extend the filing deadline by 6 months. Now, what is it not? An extension is not an extension to pay your taxes. Those are still due on the tax due date, March 15th, April 15th. You don't get to file an extension and say, hey, I don't have to pay this for 6 months. There are underpayment penalties. There are other penalties that accrue interest. We want to avoid that. So some key deadlines, you have the original payment deadline, which are going to be the taxes that are owed, and they must be paid by the original filing date. That's going to be April 15th for individuals. And then you have the filing extension deadline. This is when you have to file your return by at the end of the 6-month extension. For individuals, this is October 15th. Again, payments are still due on those original days, so April 15th. If you don't get an extension to file, if you don't file, you can have an underpayment penalty. Next, what are the consequences of missing the payment deadline? One of the consequences are going to be interest on unpaid taxes. The interest, it does accrue daily on any unpaid balance starting from the original filing deadline. You also have a late payment penalty. What is this? Well, this is typically at 0.5% per month of the unpaid balance up to 25% of the original balance. These penalties really have a lot of negative consequences, especially if you are self-employed and you don't make estimated tax payments throughout the year. If you owe $1,000, $2,000, $3,000, $4,000, $10,000, $20,000, these can add up extremely quickly. What are the benefits of filing for an extension? You will avoid the late filing penalty, which late filing penalties are higher than the late payment penalties. Those are going to be about 5% per month. And then you do have more time to gather documents. What's this do? This makes sure you don't miss anything. You want to have the most accurate records you can. This will reduce errors. This will reduce any material understatement penalties. There's a lot that goes into this. I never think it's a bad idea to file an extension, even if you're going to have all your stuff done by March 15th, April 15th. It doesn't hurt to file an extension. This also allows for some strategic planning. You're going to have time to evaluate deductions, credits, other tax strategies. When are you going to get your IRA, your individual retirement accounts funded? There's a lot that goes into this. It's not just a black and white. Let's do this today and worry about it later. There are strategic benefits to filing those extensions. Paying your taxes on time. You need to estimate your tax liability. Use last year's return or online calculators as a guide. And then with that, make a payment. Pay as much as possible by the original deadline to minimize interest and penalties. There's a few ways to do this. Those are the IRS direct pay. You can do an electronic fund transfer. You can do a check. You can use a credit card. I never recommend that because you're going to have a fee to do that, and you're better off just worrying about paying the other way. One thing I will say about using a credit card, though, is if you can't pay the IRS and you don't know when you're going to pay the IRS, it might make sense sometimes to use your credit card. I would rather be indebted to a credit card company than I would to the IRS personally, but avoid paying with a credit card unless you just absolutely have to. What happens if you can't pay? There are payment plans. The IRS offers installment agreements for unpaid taxes. You have a longer term if it's over a certain amount and a short term if it's under a certain amount. The short term is around 180 days you have to pay, but the thing you have to remember about that is that you will still accrue interest and penalties while you're under those installment agreements. What happens if you didn't pay? You can find an offer in compromise. This is just going to be a potential settlement option if you can't pay the full amount. A lot of times they're going to want to see exactly what your assets are and get more details. This is not just a simple thing. Payment plans are typically really straightforward, easy to achieve, and offering compromise can be a little more cumbersome, and you want to have a tax professional's help doing this. Penalty relief. First time penalty relief can be a first time abatement, and other relief options may apply. What's a first time abatement? If you have had no penalties in the last 3 years, all your returns are filed, then you are eligible to get first time abatement on the penalty. This can greatly reduce your tax burden if you do this right. You can do this yourself. You can get a tax professional to help you. It's one of those things, though, that is underutilized, but you have to be compliant and not have already had penalties in the last 3 years. State income taxes. You should always check your state specific requirements, as they do differ from federal guidelines. Most states have the exact same deadlines. Most states also understand that stuff happens. If you have penalties on the state side, some states do allow for a first time abatement on those. It just really comes down to your state. Some states are extreme sticklers, while others understand, hey, you're still going to get charged interest, you're still going to get charged penalties, but we can get some of this taken care of. A few final tips. Stay organized. You need to keep track of deadlines, payments, correspondence with the IRS. These are all things you have to do. If you're communicating with the IRS, do not ignore notices. Reach out to the IRS if you need assistance. They do have a taxpayer advocate line if you need it, but never just ignore them. The problem doesn't get better, it just gets worse. Trust me, I've seen it happen countless times. Reach out to the IRS. And now if you need help, seek professional help. A tax professional can guide you through really complex situations. It's one of those things where you have to understand what you can do yourself and what you need help with. Never be afraid to reach out to your tax professional. Never be afraid to reach out to us here at Henson CPA Group. We do this stuff daily. That's what we're here for. And we just want to make sure you guys have the help you need and are able to get any assistance that we can provide. Other than that, at this time, if you have questions, feel free to reach out. You can reach me at joseph@hensoncpagroup.com. Joseph is Joeseph. Blame it on my mom. I don't know why, but that's how she spelled my name. If you have any questions, though, please let us know and have a great day, and I will